What is up? It's the Figure Hunter, and today we're going to talk about another product device solution that I love, and that is the Whoop 4.0 wearable device. I have been using it for about 3.5 years now, and so this is sort of like a long-term review. But in simple terms, as I've thought about making this video, I think the Whoop device is the single most simple and yet in-depth comprehensive wellness and recovery device on the market today. Simple and in-depth. I can't say enough at how I rely on this device. And I have come from testing all the Suunto watches, all the Kuros watches, all the Polar watches, all the Garmin watches. Garmin and its extensive, the rings you can wear, the Ultra Human ring, the Oura ring, Apple Watch Ultra, all the apps, 4,000 apps you can test for that. The Whoop device is the most consistent, reliable, practical, and directionable device for wellness and recovery that is on the market today. I think it far and away blows away the Oura or the Ultra Human rings, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. I think it exceeds the simplicity and consistency, the reliability on a morning-to-morning, day-to-day analyzation of your recovery of any of the devices on the market today. And I want to talk about the things that I love about it, but I wanted to say it emphatically out of the gate that I just think that it's the one thing that I would not live without. And that's somebody who is a major fan of the Garmin culmination of training and wellness that they couple together with a great watch that's functionally a watch. So I'll never be without a watch. But I think the Whoop gives you like the platform of what you could need to truly see and analyze your wellness and recovery. I don't think it is to be used for training and training load tracking and specifically training recovery tracking exactly. I think you should use some of the devices on the market when you look at your training volume and your training volume tracking. It does not do that, so I will also say out of the gate that is not what I use it for. So let's take a hands-on look at the Whoop, and then let's just dive into the app and talk conceptually about the areas that I love about the Whoop. So looking number one at the device, this is a device with their new Sport Flex band, which I just think is awesome. I just love from a design perspective. I do think one of the things I love about it is just the design. Simplicity, the concept, just a little device that's just sort of worn on your body. I do think that they have come up with cool new designs. These are the hydro, I don't know what they're called. They're the ones that dry quickly because I don't want to have to take it off, but it's great that you have. I'm actually annoyed as a reviewer that I am wearing all these devices, so I have to constantly wear my Whoop on my bicep during daily life. In your workouts, you have to wear it on your bicep if you want to track your strain. That's one thing I'll share about later, but I'd rather just wear it on my wrist. I think it looks cool. I think it shows the community around you, and it's not CrossFit only related anymore. I think it shows the community around you that you're committed to your recovery. And I just think it's a way better tool than Oura. It actually functionally gives better feedback. So the Sport Flex, this is the other Sport Flex. I think the bands are cool. I think some of the concepts they've come up with, like the body material, this is an arm sleeve. So it's just a simple way to wear it. You can wear it in your underwear and a shirt. Obviously they're all $4 million for each little item in detail. So I can't recommend you get all the items in detail. I like that the concept of the battery, it takes like forever to charge it, but I like that the battery, you just pop it on, so you don't have to take the device off and you forgot it. So the design aspect, and so that's one thing that's a major thing, the design. So we need to look at some of the aspects on the app itself. So the Whoop concept is so good. And so you're gonna see a bad night of recovery because I fasted and then I ate a whole bunch, and it was sort of like, weekend and, a couple glasses of wine. It's just like the Whoop's not great. The stats aren't great, but the first thing you see is this pop-up, and the pop-up that comes in is always your sleep. And I love the sleep first And I love that it says, hey, we got some breakdown of your last night, and it tells you in a pop-up. And then you dive in and it opens up the sleep. And so you look at the sleep and you can see when you got up, but I like at the top, you can see your total hours of sleep. That's the amount, not that you were in bed, but that you were asleep. So minusing what it projected your awake time, which I think is useful to see the right number, not just the time you're in bed. Secondly, it shows that restorative sleep up at the top. So the restorative sleep is your culmination of deep and REM, and it just gives the restorative sleep snapshot versus your average snapshot. So you can see, like, I got a little bit more recovery. Is it right? None of them are right, but it's still the same baseline, same device. So you can see relative to history on the same device that maybe has the same wrong calculation, what your sleep does. I feel like that helps your actual sleep, and it actually gives you the, what you would gauge as your sleep debt. I love it on the journal, because on the journal, you can see, if I can get it to go back there, on the journal from yesterday, you can see a simple few things. I like that I track protein, I track my food on MyFitnessPal. I like that it shows you the snapshot of how many protein you got. I ate a lot of meat, and then I ate a lot of meat late at night, and so it's like I just was eating until right when I went to bed. Intermittent fasting, you can track your fasting, and then the other thing I like about it is you can track your water intake. So I have a water bottle that tracks it. I just like that the journal comes up and then it's customizable. I don't like looking at all the things. I just like looking at the protein, the water intake, and tracking what days I fast. Fine. There's a lot of things you could do, but I like that it's simple. And the health metrics. So we'll have to go back to today, and again, it's a show. Come on. For the health metrics, because then I go to this health monitor on the middle left, because it does a great job, and don't laugh at the stats because they're not great. It does a great job of these 5 primary things. I ignore blood oxygen because that's not really worthwhile, but the other things are indicators of sickness or indicators of recovery. I do love that it shows you the respiration rate and the skin temperature. Those usually sit off to the side, not really paid attention to, until they're significantly out of whack and in the red. And then you pay attention to it, because your skin temperature and respiratory rate are signs of like infection, not just the resting heart rate and the HRV. But I like that it takes all of them and all the most important ones. There's other devices on the market that don't include all of them and that don't take all of them into account into calculating. So your HRV, yes. Resting heart rate, yes. Those are big things. But the fact that respiration rate and your skin temperature is also always there up front and in bold colors is great. Periodically, if you go into your day, I like that it shows you all the activities for the day. One thing I'll tell you that I do like, it's a tidbit, is you can backwards add an activity. Now, that's a big deal. That's actually, no device does that. So the Whoop is actually taking all the stats it possibly can at all the time, so you can backwards add an activity, which you can't do anywhere else. Not that I use this for activity tracking, because the heart rate isn't great. You have to wear it on a bicep band. That is an absolute must if you want to track the actual strain. And I'll share, I don't really track the strain, but like I added the sauna just to sort of see, and you could see the sauna time because I could backwards track and see what my heart was doing in a sauna. And you can add, the sauna. One thing that's great about the Whoop is there's like a bunch of different activities. If you want to get credit for something, if you want to say like, because I just literally took a friend's like kid's bed apart, and I wanted to track it because I was like moving things up and down stairs, and I wanted to track it like an activity just to sort of get credit for like whatever, mostly so I could just track my food intake. But it's fantastic because you can track any activity on the planet. You can track yard work, you can track gaming, you can track, physical activity, you can track sleep, you can track naps. It'll automatically track a lot of those things, and that's one thing that we'll talk about in a second. But it can be a place like a repository of everything you did that day that had activity to it. Or on the flip side, what's great about it is it can be a repository of you not tracking anything and it just keeping up with all your activity, because it always is getting all of the heart rate, all of the data, all of that it can, as if it was tracking a full tilt workout at all times of the day. It is so much better than anybody else at this wellness and recovery, just your holistic life. because so you can add an activity, or else it'll just tell you at the top your overall strain for the day, because it just is like, we're watching you. You don't have to put it in there like sauna or built a bed or disassembled something, yard work, workout, whatever. We're watching all the time, and that is great in it. Again, if you're going to use it for workouts, so you have to wear a bicep band. It is like really inaccurate at the wrist if you're doing any kind of higher intensity training, any kind of lifting, any movement of the wrist. It's only accurate, and it gets really much more accurate on the bicep. The other thing is on the dashboard. Now, these are a culmination of what you put together on the dashboard, but I like that you can do a drop down if you want to dive in. So here, I went into just pick a category, and then you hit the top section, this little arrow, and you can go all through the fields. If you wanted to look at something, I don't ever look at steps, and thank you for adding that. But you can see your overall resting heart rate over a period of time, because I've been staying up later because I've been catching up on these reviews. You can see your sleep debt. Sometimes I will check in on that. I've not been getting good sleep. I was in a good state where I had caught up. But you can do this drop down. You can dive into a part of wellness and life. And that is good. You know, again, like I said, I sometimes check the sleep debt as a metric. I really, appreciate that. The fact that it is automatic activity tracking. So like this, I didn't track. It just sort of tracked for me. It kind of knows when I'm doing something, because maybe I've checked it in the past. Sometimes you have to train it a little bit, but you just wear it, and it'll culminate it. And then it'll see at the top, it'll say calculate muscular load. So let's do that as an example. So yesterday I didn't do a workout, but it picked up the fact that I was lifting, and I just did, and to share my tidbit for this video, because I always try to share a tidbit from life. A tidbit in this video is I'm super excited about doing these static lifts, like the basic lifts. So I've added barbell lifting, like the dynamic lifts, as an ongoing, consistent thing that I'm going to do the homework, I'm going to follow the class schedule. And then secondly, I really, in this new year, want to make sure to maintain strength and maybe grow strength in some of the core areas, because I wasn't getting deadlift in, I wasn't getting bench press in, I wasn't always getting strict press or back squat or weighted pull-ups. I wasn't getting those in. And so now every Sunday I do bench press, deadlift, and weighted pull-ups, because those don't automatically come up on the written program for the barbell class. And so I'm super excited as my tidbit. So I'm just doing something simple where I do 5 sets of 3 reps, and then I do 4 sets of 5 reps, and then I do 3 sets of 8 reps. And every activity works its way down that. But on this workout, that's what I did here. And you can go into the top and you can add the exercises, and you can add what you did. You can throw it on there, and it'll give you an accurate, or a much more accurate strain based on muscular load. Now, I personally feel like the strength, I can take it or leave it. I don't use it. I don't add it in there. Strength is more something I just track personally on a journal, but you could put it in there and it would give you credit for the strain. I think that's a neat little feature. One thing that's a minor thing that you have to actually dive way into to get it. So you go into more, you go into app settings, you go into activity settings, then you go into heart rate settings. I think it's unique. They use a different measure. I forget what they call it. They have some fancy name for how they calculate your heart rate zones. But you see, like, my max heart rate is 185. And my zone 2, because I do a lot of zone 2 training, and that's really important, is 137 to 149. Now, as a percentage of 185, that's 74 to 80%. That's way out of the traditional 60 to 70. But what it has done is it's made me think my zone 2 is probably higher than just 60 to 70% of 185. And typically I was using 180 because I haven't hit 185. But anyway, it gives you a different approach to being able to look at your zone 2 in a different format from a device that knows you differently than just the standard. So those are the types of things that I really love about the device, that I use it for. All those things. I mean, that's a long list of things to use it for. And what do I not use it for? The crazy thing is I do not use it for, let me see. No, I don't have to put it. I'm going to stop it. I do not use it for tracking strain. You know, I'll say really clear, there are better tracking devices. I wouldn't use it to track strain. I would track your training load somewhere else. I don't look at it as a relative of like, you should strain this much because you got this kind of recovery score. One thing I forgot in the love category is it will fail you in a recovery score. It'll give you red. You just saw it. Oura, Ultra Human, they never give red. They like never give you like a failing score. I mean, I forget what it was. I'm not going to turn it back on. 31%. So it's like red, flashing red. Oura is worthless to me as a wellness or recovery device because it doesn't give you true red. It like barely will ever get to the 50s if you had a terrible night of whatever. Same thing with Ultra Human. They're not doing the right things. They don't have a 0 to 100 scale, even though they say they do. Same thing with Fitbit. That's always felt with Fitbit and Amazfit. But so either way, back to the point. So I love that it gives you a failing score if you are a failing person like this and gives you guidance. But on the flip side, I don't base and I don't believe you should base your training track or your training efforts as well as your training schedule on, oh man, I had a bad night's sleep. I've got to shift my whole week's schedule or today's schedule and take my big day and shove it somewhere else. I don't believe that at all. I just feel like you have to take it into consideration and adjust the big day that you're going to have. But speaking specifically about strain, the heart rate sensor is not worthwhile for using on the wrist. If you're going to use it for strain tracking, don't use it on the wrist. You have to get a bicep band of some type because the accuracy is way off there. So I don't use it for strain. I would recommend a device of another type, like a Garmin or Suunto or Coros or Polar. They all do really good training load tracking. That's what I would use for my overall strain and training load tracking. I don't use it for weekly reports. I don't use it for monthly assessments. I don't use it for stress tracking. I don't find that to be any benefit whatsoever. I don't use it for strength training, like for getting strain credit for the strength, but I think it's awesome that it's there. And the big issues are the fact that the heart rate's not accurate on the wrist, and for just workouts, it's fine for regular day-to life, and the overall cost. You know, I don't think it's bad if you can find the 20% and get it for like $240 for a year. I will put a link in the description down below. If you do want to subscribe through the channel to the Whoop and try it out, please consider using that. I've never actually tried to do that, and I don't know what credit I get, but either way, there you go. It's a free credit or a benefit. But the cost, you know, all these things, like all this stuff, it's really expensive. I actually bought this. I bought this as a knockoff band. It's junk. It's $30. And I'm like, dang, that's $30. That's a waste because it's not holding its stretchiness. But in simple terms, and go back to my summary sheet, for what I like about it, I think it is definitively better than Oura, definitively better than Garmin in the wellness and recovery state, better than Polar, Suunto, Coros, and the Ultra Human ring, way better than the rings because they don't give you failing scores. They are soft in their score recommendations, better than the Apple Watch Ultra, all that, just does everything better. Apple Watch Ultra does not track heart rate variability. It can't possibly ever, no matter how many third-party apps, give you in-depth analysis on your recovery because it does not natively or in any way track HRV on a consistently measurable basis to give feedback to an app to give you a recommendation. Hear that loud and clear. But in simple terms, the Whoop does do it all. And it does do it all so well. So like if I look at, go back to the Whoop, back to the device itself, it is the single most reliable. Every morning, it's like barely ever off in the time I went to bed. And it'll just update the whole metrics, all the details, reliable, trustworthy, trackable, simple, but also in-depth, comprehensive wellness and recovery tracker on the market today. I do think it's worth every bit of what they're asking you to overpay. So that is what I love, the Whoop device. It's a Figure Hunter. Thanks so much for watching.